Sorry, babe, I'm just built different. But wait, we aren't talking about me, because the same could be said about weapons in Counter-Strike. Not all weapons are created equal in game, not all weapons could be as reliable as the AK or the M4, and certainly not all of them could be as flashy and highly sought after like the Desert Eagle and the AWP. We've analyzed them all, and after hours upon hours of research, we're bringing you 5 weapons that just can't cut the mustard. Hello everybody, it's time yet again for the ProGuides video. My name is Boggs, and I would like to welcome you all back to the channel. Today we're bringing you the 5 weapons that just tend to fall flat in game, and you should probably avoid. We've done the research and made the calculations just so you don't have to. So remember to leave a like and subscribe, and let's get straight into it. Pulling out all the stops here, the MP7 is an iconic weapon outside of Counter-Strike that's been showcased in many other games, becoming a huge staple when it comes to firearms in games. In Counter-Strike Global Offensive, however, that's a very different story. This entire weapon slot, the MP7 and the MP5, just feels like it's in a weird state currently. Now, we all know that Valve operates on, well, Valve time, but I can't help but feel like this weapon slot hasn't gotten enough love and has practically been lost to time. Or maybe Lord Gaben just forgot about them, who knows? So if we were to bring the MP9 into the equation, we've already covered this debate in a separate video. If you want a more in-depth look at these 3 weapons and how they stack up to each other, you can check it out with the link up top. But to sum things up here, the MP9 outperforms the MP7 and the MP5 in almost every single way, unless you're sitting on a ladder. But nobody does that. Ladder sitting meta 2021 maybe? I know what your next thought is. I can't buy an MP9 on the T side. Well, that's not an argument I'm trying to make exactly. Sure, the MP9 hard outperforms the MAC-10 as well, but certainly the MP7 and the MP5 outperform the MAC-10 statistically. But the MAC-10 is still more viable because of one key thing: price. Now, to bring this full circle into what I was just talking about, if you were willing to spend $1,500 on an SMG on T-side, you're probably also willing to go ahead and just spend the extra $300 on a Galil. At $1,800, it's just a better option. So to clear all this up, the UMP got the axe in 2017 for outperforming literally every other SMG in the game, and the Galil, and the FAMAS. None of the SMGs were touched statistically to compensate for that loss of firepower. Fast forward 2 years later in 2019, the budget rifles received a price drop to make them even cheaper and brought them both closer in price to the SMGs. Now once again, the SMGs, meaning the MP7, weren't touched. We are seeing the MP9 hard outperform most of the SMGs in game, and more expensive SMGs that are designed to be budget weapons are lagging behind. I think a small price drop would help bring the MP7 more to where it needs to be, but who knows? Maybe I just set Valve on a collision course with an MP9 nerf, and I'm sorry in advance. Now, I know a lot of you guys love the MP7, and perhaps I'm not making many fans here by putting it first, but hear me out. The MP9 is truly just a better option, and that cheaper. So perhaps if you're struggling with learning to love it, and you just can't really wrap your head around it, consider booking a session with one of our coaches. They can go much more in depth on how to use it effectively, as well as any other important Counter-Strike fundamentals. If you're trying to improve as fast as possible, or perhaps even go pro, getting a coach yourself is the best way to do just that. So don't be scared to come around over on our website on ProGuides.com. Now, I just talked about how the UMP got the axe in 2017, and that brings us directly into our question of the day. What old weapon was your favorite? By that I mean basically, what overpowered weapon did you enjoy the most? Was it when CSGO went to the wild, wild west with the release of the AR-8 revolver? Was it the pocket AK-47, also known as the CZ? Or perhaps you've been around long enough to remember the AUG-pocalypse? No, not 2019. I'm talking all the way back in 2014. The week the AUG was the most broken gun in the history of CSGO. Mine personally was the SG that nobody realized was broken for 6 whole years, but yours may be different, so let us know your favorite one down in the comment section below. Now, let's head right into our second weapon you should never buy. You might think that 2 guns is better than 1, and in almost every other game you would be dead on, but Counter-Strike loves to be a contrarian. Now, I'm sure every one of us has heard, "Oh, don't buy that, it's terrible." But you might ask yourself, why? You might remember playing MW2 and slaying kids with a fully automatic Glock akimbos, calling in tactical nukes every game because these dual pistols were so broken. That's not really the case with the dual Berettas in CSGO. The main problem with the weapon is that there's a low armor penetration on the pistols and an extremely high damage fallout. Now that directly translates to the issue I have with the MP7. There's just a better option, and this time it's available for everybody and not just CTs. The P250 shreds through armor, and it's $100 cheaper. If you think about it, in lower elo when everyone is just mindlessly 5-man armor rushing a bomb site with no utility, having a P250 to chew through them is extremely viable. Now, every weapon in Counter-Strike has a purpose in mind when designed. The dualies, along with a few other weapons, were designed with the idea that they would eat unarmored opponents. This logic, however, is extremely flawed when you begin to think about it. My opponent is unarmored because I just won a crucial round, so I should have enough money to buy a decent weapon, or maybe I saved a better weapon from the previous round. The dual Berettas have overall just been left in the dust by the men of the game, and that's rather unfortunate. Think back to our question of the day. A weapon that may have come to your mind was the Mag 7. There was a time when the Mag 7 had a faster fire and could potentially melt entire teams of Ts rushing to the bomb site. Think of the Bank of Fnatic back in the day. Now let's talk about the T-side counterpart to the God tier Mag 7, the Sawed-Off. Boo! I can hear you say, because you already know what's coming. You may have even forgotten the Ts had their own special shotgun. The Sawed-Off is the worst shotgun in the game, and it may also just be the worst weapon in the entire game of Counter-Strike. It has an extremely slow movement speed, the slowest out of all of the shotguns, and it is also the most inaccurate of the lot as well. The Sawed-Off, along with the Swag 7, have a faster firing rate than the Nova, but the XM10 outclasses everyone in firing rate alone. Now, it has the highest base damage out of all the shotguns, sitting at 32, with the Mag 7 coming in second with a flat 30, but the weapon inaccuracies really crippled the Sawed-Off. There's only one thing that the other three shotguns can't beat it at, and that is the running theme of this video. You may have already guessed what that is: ladder inaccuracy. When the ladder sitting meta hits, I know exactly what weapons I need to buy to just dominate. Now this one really pains me. The PP-Bizon is one of my favorite weapons of all time. Just look at that magazine. How could you not like the look of this gun? I really think Valve did me dirty when they were working with the stats for it in CSGO. The Bizon is the worst SMG in the game, and is practically tied with the Sawed-Off for being the worst weapon in the entire game. Now, to sum this up, all of the other SMGs in this game outclass the Bizon. Its raw damage can be outclassed by the MP9 and the MAC-10, and it doesn't have as much armor penetration as the UMP or the P90. It's the second worst damage fall-off, only being beaten by the UMP. Rest in peace. The only thing this weapon has going for it is its massive magazine size. So if you were looking for a gun that could just shoot for a really long time, this would be the gun for you. Oh wait, I lied. Similar to the MP7, there's just a better alternative. If you're looking for raw, uncut fire time, just pick up a Negev for $300 more. Now, like I've stated previously, all of these weapons had a specific use in mind when designed. The Bizon was originally used to stop unarmored rushes, but unfortunately Valve seemingly changed their mind. In 2018, the Negev was reworked into a sort of laser pointer that gets more accurate the longer you shoot it. That change, along with the insane price drop down to $1,700, made it the go-to weapon to stop not just unarmored rushes, but rushes in general. This change left the Bizon in a similar position as the MP7, in that it has no use. There's just a better alternative to what it was once used for. But hey, it's got cool skins at least. Speaking of LMGs, that brings me to the final weapon, the AWP. It's terrible, and I only get $100 for getting a kill with it. Just kidding, you guys knew that. The M249 is in an extremely weird spot. The Negev and the M249 were always thought of as troll weapons. They were joke weapons that you bought when you were stomping a team and had a lot of extra cash on hand. More specifically the Negev, it used to cost a whopping $5,700, and it even was a worse gun then than it is today. So absolutely no one in their right mind would buy it. Imagine that. The most expensive weapon in the game was terrible. Now, after the rework of the Negev in 2018, making it significantly cheaper and adding the laser beam element at the cost of movement speed, a lot of us expected the M249 would follow in some way, shape, or form. After all, it has always been a budget Negev, but that never materialized. Instead, it just sits on a shelf gathering dust, forgotten. Now, the problem with old machine guns, and well, the problem that the M249 still has, is that it suffers from a high recoil and an insane spread. Now, a thing to note with this weapon is that it can be used in short bursts. Its first shot accuracy is extremely good, and it does have one-tap potential, but it has to be extremely close. That, however, doesn't justify this weapon's hefty price tag. There are a few ways this could be remedied. Naturally, a lower price tag on the weapon might help with its viability in-game. There could potentially be some sort of damage buff to help it earn its $5,200 price tag, or even a recoil change, but in its current state, the M249 is just a no-go. Or at least in my case, the only time I pull it out is if I'm extremely far ahead in money, and I just want to ruin someone's day. So like I said earlier, not all weapons in CSGO are created equal. And while I'm at it, here are a couple of honorable mentions. While the UMP would have surely made this list after its damage fall-off nerf of 2017, its incredible price point and armor pen keep it off this list. The R8 revolver may not be loved by the community as much as the Desert Eagle, but there is no denying it has some uses, though they may be a bit more situational than, say, the Deagle. They don't call it the Pocket Scout for nothing. Lastly, the Riot Shield. It obscures vision, eats movement speed, and breaks after being shot a few times. This would have totally made our list if you could actually purchase it in competitive. However, we only see this abomination in Danger Zone. I hope this helped to shed some light on the topic and explained a bit more of why we don't purchase these weapons as opposed to, oh, don't buy it, that's just bad. I was always curious and just wanted to know the why behind everything when I was growing up, and well, I still want to know the why behind everything. If this video helped you understand a bit more about the weapons in the game, or maybe you even learned something that you didn't know previously, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hitting that bell icon will help you stay up to date with all of the new content from our ProGuides team. If you want to take your game to the next level, then head on over to ProGuides.com, where you will have the ability to work with our expert coaches and get a personalized experience from them. They can even help you make better financial decisions in games so you won't have to use any of these terrible weapons. I wish you all the best of luck in your next matches, and I will see you guys very soon with more videos. Have a great day.